welcome back to the channel. Here we are again talking about prepping. In today's video we are talking about our wonderful eggs. As we probably all know, eggs are a major staple of diet of pretty much every family in any country, so they are very, very important. So today we're just going to cover the basic of eggs and the eggs preservations. Unfortunately, there is not really a huge thing we can do to prep for the eggs. However, there are things that we can do to basically safeguard ourselves in certain aspects of having eggs. Me and myself, we have chickens, so we have an abundance of eggs, but again, it doesn't really matter whether you do or you don't. You can always buy eggs still at the moment fairly cheaply, and you can still buy them on deal when they're approaching a later expiry date. I wanted to cover, first of all things, is the expiry date on eggs. As we know, obviously the government and all the companies that produce food give you the expiry date just as a guideline. Trust me, chickens don't pop up the egg with a little stamp up their bottom to tell you the expiry of this egg is X amount of, whatever, 12th of December, whatever. It doesn't just happen. And old days when people have eggs, chickens for, hundreds of years, the dates were not ever stamped on the eggs. It's literally, they've been commercialized just to give people an idea on the dates. However, they're really, really far out. And I can give you an example, 100%, and I'm testing. I would never tell you anything if I've never tried or tested this myself. The supermarket eggs, they have the display by date and they have the use by date. So when the display by date in the supermarket saying 31st of November, and the use by date will be another week, so 7th of December, whatever. So trust me, you can eat those eggs if you put them in the fridge, or even if you don't, you can eat those eggs another 2-3 weeks past the date, and 100% I promise you that. However, of course, use your common sense, and of course if the egg stinks, then don't eat it. If it doesn't stink, then it's a-okay. You can find online, right, a little test for the eggs, when you can drop the egg and it tells you if the egg floats, if it's fresh, if it's not. So to give you an example, you can find this easily just by Google and the pictures. This is the egg that was laid this morning, and it's really flat, it's lying sideways, and it's not really wanting to go anywhere. This egg here is a 3 weeks past the supermarket use by date. It has been in the fridge though, however, for those extra 3 weeks, but 3 weeks extra past the expiration date. And this egg is just wanting to stand up. I don't know if you can see this. It's just wanting to stand up a little bit. So according to the charts online, it is still okay. It's not as fresh as you can see. It's wanting to, it's got a little bit more air got in the egg. However, it is still safe to eat. So if you do throwing eggs away, stop throwing eggs away, do your research and actually just save yourself some money, because I don't know whether people throw eggs away or not, but if you're one of those people that follow the expiration and best before dates, please don't. Just have a look online and I guarantee you these eggs are absolutely safe to eat. The only way they're not, if you put the egg in there and it starts to flow right to the top, it means it's got too much air in there and the thing's gone a bit wrong. So, but when you open it, you will smell this anyway. So I just felt this is an important thing to do, because as a prepper, and as of course as the, the crunch of people feeling the pinch, it's very important not to waste the resources and the food that we have. Bearing in mind at the moment, right, there is a lot of as a bird flu going around. And I know I've read this in America, and apparently they're killing like millions and millions of chickens. We had notification, obviously, because we have the birds as well, and I'm noticing online that it's got progressively worse. So we're not allowed to let our chickens out because chickens are dying, catching that bird influenza flu. And hence also why we're struggling to get eggs in the supermarket. Again, it makes me wonder a little bit, because majority of the farms, but the chicken farms, right, who keep chickens for the eggs are normally closed anyway. So it's very little of free-range farms out there. So to me, again, the shortage of a cheap, non-free-range eggs, it shouldn't happen. Bird flu should not even come into consideration, considering they're battery farm chickens that just sit there in the cages and lay eggs every day. So it's, again, there's another thing to think about, but nonetheless, we're just talking about preserving the eggs. So first and easy thing is, guys, you can freeze the eggs. I don't need to freeze the eggs because we have chickens. Of course, in the winter, production it goes really right down. However, obviously, I can live with that. I can deal with that. You can freeze eggs for up to a year, and I suggest strongly that you use the vacuum sealer bags. They'll just protect your eggs a little bit better from, obviously, the frost damage in the freezer. They do suggest you eat them within 4 months rather than a year, just to basically safeguard the texture. However, your year is absolutely fine. So if you suddenly had a gluttony of eggs and you really don't know what to do with, then basically vacuum seal them in packs or whatever, however big your family is, and just chuck them in the freezer and you're okay. At no point ever put the eggs like open top in the little muffin tins without any coverage. You will just totally ruin the texture, so don't do that. Right. Next thing is a tad bit controversial, however, people have been doing this for years, is your dehydrated eggs, right? You can dehydrate your eggs in the oven or in your dehydrator, and you can dehydrate the scrambled eggs, which takes a bit quicker, or you can dehydrate the raw eggs. It still takes a very, very long time. So I only suggest doing this if you are really relying on eggs, and if you can't get them, and if you bake in or whatever, if you feel like you need to have them, then you do. I strongly suggest that you use a dehydrated scrambled eggs. This is what a dozen gets you. Okay, and they're currently crumb. I haven't molded them into the smaller things because I don't really need it, but its option for me is there. They'll sit there as a crumb option, and if I need to make them into the powder, I blitz them into the little coffee grinder here. But again, this is an option, right? If you do have a gluttony, and if I ever at some point I have too many eggs, I'll probably just go through, it'll cost me time, it'll cost me money to do that. However, the freeze-dried egg powder is extremely, extremely expensive right now. So I probably will maybe towards the end of December, if I have eggs, I might dehydrate some more and just keep them there with the oxygen absorber, just in case. God knows what's going to happen, right? Because things like, people have been told to cull their chickens if the thing's near, like if disease is near. So God knows, it's not worth bearing about. But anyway, yes, it's something that you can do. Right, this thing, apparently, I've mentioned in one of my other channels, and apparently not many people heard that you can actually pickle your eggs. You can do this many ways. You can pickle them in a very strong vinegar solution, or you can do like a 50-50 water to vinegar solution with some herbs and spices. You can do this as a hot marinade or cold marinade, but nonetheless, the fact remains that you can pickle your eggs. Sorry, I kept mine in the fridge, this one, because it's been opened. But generally, right, anything that's in vinegar that you make a preserve, it will last indefinitely if you use the proper methods and the jar is sealed. So basically eggs, you think, pickled eggs might sound a bit disgusting to you, but it depends. If you never tried this, then I strongly suggest you do. You don't have to make a really huge jar, you can just try a couple. It takes a good couple of months for them to sit in the marinade. If people want to, I can do another video later on how to show you how to pickle preserve eggs. That's a different matter anyway. But pickled eggs, you think, where do you use it? Well, to be fair, first of all, if there's no food at all, then, well, you eat whatever, right? And especially something that's going to last for ages. You can add on to the sandwiches, it's like you do with the pickles. You can have them with, if you're having sort of cheese, or you can just make all sorts of things. Just if you like cooking, or if you don't, I'll give you ideas later. But there's a lot you can do with the pickled eggs. And don't forget, the eggs in general is one of those sort of proteins that are absorbed by our body far quicker. So if we eat an egg, our body absorbs 90% of that protein right away, which is absolutely, sorry, not right away, but it absorbs 90%, which is the most amazing thing. It's not any other protein that our body can absorb such a high percentage when we consume it. So it's a really good thing to have. So if you do want me to do the recipe and do the video on the preserving eggs in the vinegar and the pickles, then please comment below, and I put this on my list of videos to do. Right, another thing, again, a controversial one. This is the egg lime solution. So it's been used for years, right? Long time ago. It just means you just put eggs into the water, and you got a pickling lime or calcium hydroxide, and you mix it in, and you basically add on the eggs, and you let them sit there. And apparently they keep for over a year. I've been doing this research for ages, and I'm finding conflicting information that people have been doing this for a very long time. And then I found one, which is American FDA Association, said that this is not safe because of what the calcium hydroxide is used for in other. It's basically like an industrial lime. So yes, there's a food grade, but to cut the story short, it's apparently not advised because it's not advisable that you consume that powder. However, yes, of course, we're not consuming a powder, but because the powder is in water and the eggs are porous, although they have a membrane, the idea is you only use the fresh eggs. there's a still possibility that the lime will seep through and we end up consuming it. So I'm still a bit unsure, but I wanted to give it a go. And apparently, as I said, they could keep for a year. And many people have been doing this. I've seen videos, people have been keeping them for ages and apparently swear by it. So I wanted to give it a go, but obviously by the time I come to use them, hopefully I've done a little bit more research and find something else and actually find the definite yes or no. Again, they've been doing this for hundreds of years apparently, and it was okay. At the same time, like Victorian times, they used to drink wine and beer because the water wasn't clear, and doesn't mean it's particularly safe. Works for me though, I happily drink a glass of wine over water any day. However, it doesn't mean it's particularly that great. So this is still leaves it a bit of a questionable method for me, but I need to try this, I need to know this, and I will research this any further. And the last but not least, and I think it's probably the best one, is powder, right? So we're talking about preparing. So if there's no shops, if you can't go to the shops, if God knows what's happening, your body needs vitamins. So crushed eggshells, right? Eggshells contain 378 grams of calcium per gram of eggshells. Yeah, that makes sense, right? And you have a lot of other like minerals, like you got potassium, magnesium, zinc. It is like a super powder from something that we normally throw away. So what I've been doing, because I keep the eggshells, you know, if you do your scrambled eggs, whatever, you have the shells. Because we have chickens need calcium, and rather than me buying calcium powder or beverages to add on to their water, they eat their own eggs. So we basically put that in the oven to kill all the bacteria. For the chickens, it only takes like, 6 minutes just to make them brittle. For us, I probably leave them a little bit longer. You basically kill the bacteria, kill the salmonella, if there's any of these sort of germs and bacteria in the eggshells, and then you crush them, and then you blitz them in one of those little cheap spice, well, it's coffee grinder really, and you blitz them into the powder. So this thing is like, it's a free vitamin for something you normally would just throw away. So please don't forget that if you do eat eggs, whether it's a lot or little, just keep them. You can rinse them, just keep this until you can run the oven and put this underneath your roast dinner or something, just so if you don't want to run the oven just for that alone, which I don't advise because it costs money. So, but basically, yeah, this is my super tip, the calcium, pretty much a pure calcium from something you would normally throw in a bin. So here we are. Yeah, this little coffee grinder thing, it's Silvercrest by Lidl. It was like $8.99 or something. I bought it last year. You can still pick those things up cheap, and I appreciate you might not want to go and spend the money. You don't have to. You can use the hand like pestle and mortar if you want to crush the shells up. You might not get the same 100% the same effect, but you know, if we're desperate, this is what it is. So basically that, guys. So we have 4 options of preserving eggs. 5, sorry, including the freezer. 5 options of preserving the eggs. And again, you might not have to do all of them, but if you take in even like 1 or 2 things that you find helpful that I mentioned today, then it's good for me. So anyway, well, thank you for watching, guys, and we'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.